Welcome to another week in advance and a July 4th special. How are you doing today, Christopher?
Really great. How are things there in the western part of the United States today?
It's been hot, hot, hot in the 80s. Lots of pool days, lots of sunshine. It's been hard. I've been working all week inside the house, but I want to be outside. I want to be doing all this work. You know, that's kind of the opposition of a Sun, Pluto, and Cancer, Capricorn. Do you want to rest or do you want to slave yourself to the end of time? It's kind of a extreme opposition we're in this week.
Yeah, it definitely is starting out with that exact confrontation between the Sun and Pluto. And then we've also got Jupiter sitting there at the tail end of Cancer. And, you know, Jupiter in Cancer is kind of a languishing, lay around the pool kind of vibe, too. So it's going to be another week or two before we really start to see any actual fireworks start showing up.
Yeah, there are fireworks getting prepared. This is, as we've been talking about, we are getting ready to close a long chapter. This Mars in Libra since December, that's going to finally be over at the end of this month. And on top of all that, Jupiter, of course, finishing a year cycle in Cancer. And then here we are as well, where if we're looking around, the Sun's got to get through these oppositions and squares, which was a cardinal cross earlier this year, but it's been split up. But the Sun has now entered this territory. So it's not that it's a bumpy ride, but it definitely makes for a lot of conscious and unconscious behaviors to be clear, a lot of our emotions to figure things out. And I think the first thing we're figuring out here as we step into this weekend and this holiday is, you know, it's nice. Vacations are wonderful. But we've all, I think, been yearning and have been desiring this destined road in our life or some sort of plan or some sort of work. And I think the universe is reminding us of that now, that no matter how much we want to lay around the pool or, you know, be safe and enjoy the summer or enjoy the winter wherever you're at, there's a part of us where the universe is calling us somewhere, and it doesn't matter how much you lay by the pool, that's nagging you in your consciousness.
Yeah, it's like that itch that you can't scratch, and so it's just there in the background. The thing that's interesting, though, is that there's also been this residual feeling in the air for the last few days that came from that Mercury retrograde, because Mercury had moved through Cancer and back into Gemini, went direct in Gemini, and now it's trying to pick up speed. And I think people are still feeling a little of that disorientation because, you know, flopping over from water to air and then going stationary and then starting to move again and then moving back toward the water. It seems like this has been kind of a twitchy Mercury retrograde cycle, and now we're just beginning to feel like we're moving back into that next stage of advancing with communications and advancing with things that were kind of offline for, you know, that 3.5, 4 week period there when Mercury was doing its backward dance.
Yeah, and it was on top of other things offline. I mean, Mars still is in a shadow period. It hasn't come out of a retrograde shadow yet. So, and it's in the sign of Libra, which, you know, it's not the strongest placement for Mars. And then just if you look around, especially, you know, Neptune went retrograde, Chiron went retrograde. There's been so many levers pulled. And I think the Mercury retrograde came at a right time. Although maybe you could have been frustrated over these last 3 weeks of things really kind of not going anywhere. The truth is like it wasn't the time. It's almost like we're blessed that the Mercury retrograde is over and we get to pick up speed with things in life. With all the planets are going to kind of turn on at the same time. Mercury's going to come out of its shadow here in the next couple weeks, you know, and be really blazing through Cancer. We're going to have Mars come out of its shadow in the next couple weeks, blaze to the end of Libra and come into Scorpio. We're going to have Jupiter switch into Leo here. So this is extreme times coming, extreme shifts. I'd be prepared. It's a lot like a last-minute preparation time in our life and a lot to ponder, lots of last questions, this reminder of the work. And because when it hits, it's going to be a NASA spaceship. When this Sun-Jupiter new moon happens in Leo, conjunct Jupiter, square Mars and Scorpio at the end of this month, I hope people are ready. It's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be a rocket ship too. So
I think it's going to be a lot of fun because I think that Jupiter is, very fun-loving. It's a fun-natured energy. The other thing I'm looking at right now and pondering is this interesting interaction between Venus and Mars, both in air signs. And, Mars is not real unhappy in an air sign, but Venus tends to be feeling a little bit frustrated there. And we've got the moon that is going to be moving through Libra and kind of adding to the energy there of that Venus-Mars interaction. But both of these planets are, they're going to be advancing through the tail end of air signs and then eventually flipping over into kind of an interesting watery domain. So right now I think that we need to work on our understandings, our intellectualizing things, thinking about things, especially in that dynamic of relationships, because when Mars and Venus are both traveling, in Scorpio and Cancer, and Mercury is going to be in Cancer also, I think we're going to see a lot of deep emotions that have been kind of withheld once again start to come to the surface. And eventually it's all going to get into the stir with the activity of Saturn in Scorpio. So there could be with this, not necessarily the end of this week, but with the following week, with the coming full moon, there could be some real intense exchanges about, he said, she said, I remember when you did this, that sort of thing.
you're right. There's a lot of pot stirring still. Is it the right temperature yet? Is it the right taste? There's tasting still going on. There's that. I think Venus in Gemini, it doesn't do well because it doesn't sit in energy well. Venus loves to be in Taurus, where it goes, I like that car. But when it's in Gemini, it's like, well, I like that one, that one. Can we test drive about 5 or 6 of them today? The salesman just goes, ugh, I got to do all this stuff, and we're not even sure if we're going to pick it yet. And that's Venus in Gemini. And it's been making a very powerful inconjunct over to Pluto, which has been in this destiny spot, been in this energy of, wanting to manifest this extreme goal. And that's a weird angle. There's so much to adjust, right? It's like, can we pick all these things? Can we taste everything? Is it all going to fit in tune with where we're going in our destiny? Then you're right. Mars in Libra is so intellectual and might want to do the right thing. But sometimes doing the right thing doesn't mean things go together. Sometimes the right thing is not to call somebody at 6 in the morning because the business isn't open yet, so you won't do it. A Mars in Aries is just like, call them. It's like, and it gets it done. But a Mars in Libra is waiting for these right moments and these right time frames. And so everything is so, like you said, internally intellectualized. But when you really do the deeper astrology, our brains are not operating like they used to. Having all this energy in Pisces that squares Gemini and has squared Venus, it's squared Mercury retrograde, and we're having a long-term effect of this Neptune energy in our lives, our intuitive mind is what is needed to be found. Our intellectual, logical mind, for some reason, is not as sharp as it's always been before. I'm surprised the scientists are even still coming up with things, but I haven't seen a big science story in a minute. It's like the energy is all, it's vast right now. And it's not so specific,
Very true. And this entire week we've got this growing, like you said, the water thing going on, the intensity and the depth of emotions and old feelings that we can't even identify. They're just residual feelings from the past. So as the sun continues to advance, it's firing off that trine this week between Saturn, Sun, Neptune, Chiron. So a lot of past life stuff may be coming up. We may be encountering a lot of symbolic things in our lives that, that are appearing in this particular moment in a set of conditions that is a repetition of experiences that we've had in previous lifetimes or even in previous uh, decades, and in this particular lifetime, it's like, oh wow, deja vu. I remember doing this 12 years ago or 18 years ago. So a lot of that kind of ziggy energy, and I think that one of the things that July offers us that's going to be kind of refreshing is that Saturn's going to come back online over the course of the month and go direct toward the middle of the month, and Uranus is going to go backwards by the end of the month. So we're going to see a lot of the energy that has been very gothic, I guess you could say, from that Saturn reversal in Scorpio, uh, starting to transform. And then we're going to see a lot of this lightning strike spontaneity kind of energy that's been outwardly directed for the last 6 months. That's going to flip over as Uranus goes into its retrograde. So yeah, this is the next 3 weeks are going to be very interesting to watch, because I think it is going to have impact on national issues. I think we will see, the possibility of armies lining up across demarcation lines. We're going to see people becoming a little belligerent and, pardon me there, and confrontational. So it is a very dynamic summer that seems to be getting ready to unfold here.
Yeah, a late start. It's a little bit of a late bloomer, but I think you're exactly right. There's going to be this dynamic force coming in, and I think the Uranus energy is going to be part of this. As you brought up, it's going to go retrograde. It's also going to make a square with the sun this week, which can be a little weird, but I think what this is doing, since the sun is in Cancer and we do have Uranus in Aries, our courage, our strength, and even our identity can sometimes run into issues with our emotions of the past. And I think what we're doing is we're facing this new person we're becoming, this new road that's unveiled in our life, and how we need to make sure we don't let the past, we don't let our emotions, make this difficult to step into this new revolutionary path in our lives. So this could be a week where, sometimes the camel's back breaks and you have to face an issue that you haven't wanted to face. Maybe you've been still holding on to something emotional. Maybe you've been still holding on to a safety net. Maybe you're still afraid to move into this path. This is all while Uranus is making a perfect inconjunct to Saturn, which this has been happening for the last year, but this one is exact, and they're happening at stationary positions where they're both going to go direct retrograde at the same time. If the universe isn't talking right now, I don't know how else to describe it, because this is one of the weirdest angles in astrology, and two planets that take hundreds of years to sometimes form like this, and these signs, I mean, this is very much almost impossible to happen. And this is a big, powerful readjustment in our lives, as this Saturn and Scorpio is in our truth. This Uranus and Aries is this revolutionary new road and these new ways to take the courage on it. But if you're going to live in your truth, you can't let your emotions hold you back anymore. If you're going to take the action, you're going to have to make sure it's based off this truth, because actions off truth, off safety, and so forth now just seem to not be getting you to your place. The universe is making it, it's like boot camp. You and I were both in boot camp. It's boot camp in spiritual world now. The universe is trying to get us on our great path, but it's not going to happen through, just receiving it or just sitting back and going, give it to me. Like, not going to happen that way.
No, it's definitely not. And the intensity of it, I think, is definitely spiked by the fact that you've got nodal activity being woven into the spin here, because you've got that node in Aries that's starting to have a mystical kind of connection with Uranus. And,
you're right.
that's how our karma comes to us, how we pay out our karma to others. So yeah, the whole thing is very much steeped in that idea of spanning generations, spanning incarnations over multiple centuries, and resolving, these unfinished threads that we have been striving in some ways to acknowledge, and in other ways we've been trying to avoid them. So a very interesting period coming up. And I think that as we're watching this passage of the moon, as the moon is waxing to fullness. I think this next week is going to be a week when, again, people are going to be very energized because we'll be watching the moon, you know, make its movement through a couple of different energy fields here, the Libra into the Scorpio, and then finally arriving in Sagittarius toward the end of next week. So these are all intense interactions, and the moon is definitely going to pull from the sun to the opposite side of the chart. So there's going to be a lot of intensity this coming week. It may even feel a bit like a full moon from like Monday, Tuesday forward for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think you're right about this big waxing energy and how powerful this stuff is. But I think you brought up something very deep, which is this Uranus South Node energy, and how if we look back at the last time when Uranus was in Aries, it was in the 1920s, 1929, 30, 31, 32. That was the Great Depression. When it made its big square to Pluto in Cancer, not in Capricorn like we're having now. But this could be highlighting, especially as the sun is squaring the spot, and the sun will square the nodes in Aries for the first time in a long time, right? 18 years in Cancer like it's doing now. This could be unveiling a lot of that kind of depression energy in yourself of your need to survive, yet the need to kind of go out there and nobody's going to do it for you. You know, like you have to do it yourself. The government ain't going to help you. The government isn't not going to fix you. Like there was this whole like fend for yourself back then and survive. It's interesting now as we have a Pluto-Uranus square, which, by the way, we've been very lucky that these two planets have moved pretty far apart. They've been 4 degrees off, which is almost like a godsend because for the last 2 years we haven't been that far apart. But, you know, there's this energy that's deep inside of us of purging around survival, around destiny, and whether or not we have the courage, if we have what it takes in ourselves to survive, or we have what it takes to reach a certain goal in our life. It's coming down to our own power and our own courage and new ways of doing this. And in many ways, you know what? The strong do not survive. I mean, the strong do survive through this period. The weak don't do well, unfortunately. The astrology is not very suited for the weak, hence people are going crazy, you know, about whether it's healthcare reform or anything. The universe is everybody's trying to make something, whether it's the president or to help the weak, to help people. But the truth is like that doesn't even save people, you know, at the end of the day during this. You know, you've got to find it within yourself, you know, and I'm a big advocate of that, and that's You unveiled something that I think very deep that we are touching this week in a very conscious sense, or if you're just flying through life, this could be something you just oversee, you know?
Yeah, you step out of yourself and fail to recognize what's actually happening. And we definitely are working on recognizing our own true level of empowerment. So, you know, as you were saying, those who are weak within our environment, within our society, etc., they are simply the ones who have not come to recognize their intimacy and their connectivity with divinity. And I think that when we see these edgy kind of energies, the challenges, the confrontations, the different images that come up in the mind's eye is all forcing people to look more deeply into their own identity and to identify within themselves a place where spirit resides within them, and then hopefully access that, embrace it, and move forward. And you know, when we have these grand squares, it definitely is not only on the individual level and on the societal level, but really on the cosmic level. There's a part of all of our consciousness that still avoids taking on our own personal power. And so these different synergetic interactions like this are forcing us to get out of our smallness, to get out of our littleness, to get out of our ego base, and to transcend into a realm where we realize that the power that is supporting us and that we're moving with through the universe, just like the sun is moving in that 360-degree cycle, we're seeing that expansion and growth going on within our individual as well as our collective consciousness.
It's you're so right. This is deep stuff. Whether we could look at it a million ways now, and I think it's important for everybody to take a look at that, especially as we've been bringing up so much about what's about to hit here. If you look at why this has been a little stagnant and why we're stewing on so much, the universe wants to give you an opportunity to see how much you can go here with. This is a big opportunity the universe is about to give us. Usually with extreme slow energy is going to come extreme powerful energy that follows that. And that's what we see here, is we see such a power punch from the universe that's getting ready to happen. So, and especially when it's dealing with Leo, which is the heart, which is the core of your being. Leo is the only sign represented by the sun, and the sun in astrology is our core. It is the projector of your soul. Are you going to project the right story here? You can project whatever you want. Leo gets whatever the hell it wants, trust me. But it's like, so, woo! I think what we're unveiling here is to make sure you become conscious of what's going on, that you unveil all these truths, so you step into this next round and you hit it out of the ballpark. You have a chance to hit a grand slam at the World Series. Be Kurt Gibson and hit the home run here. Because it's not like we're all coming to bat fully fresh. I think we all have had our wounds. I'm using a baseball analogy, but Kurt Gibson's home run in '88 is the biggest baseball event of all time. So it's like, we've all got that same shot, no matter how much we've been wounded in what way, because Chiron and Pisces is going to be the weirdest, the most vast, the most spiritual, and the most sensitive wounds we have in our lives. And they're going to deal with very hidden aspects that we're going to have to unveil. And so I think this helps with starting us all to see that as we go hit these home runs. That you don't have to have been to the gym a million times and have steroids and eat the right power bar and eat and drink the right food and do all these things in life. And especially I think we're seeing that now in the world. There's this whole, lifestyle revolution, and everybody's thinking that we have to physically do something in order to change our lives. Unfortunately, I think that's partly true, but I think that comes second. That the deeper work is, I know plenty of people in this town that are very clean, like energetically with their physical bodies, but their spirit is completely clouded and messed up and crap. So that doesn't mean anything. They might be eating a green juice in the morning, but the truth is that their whole entire soul journey is so off that green juice is on the way as their whole life is collapsing. So it's like there is a deeper spiritual aspect going on right now, and this has been the period to find and unveil that.
Yeah, it's like a backlash effect. And so, all of the forces have been put into motion over the last 5 years, actually, that have illuminated these elements within our lives. And now we get kind of like a whip from the tail end of this energy. And within that, there's a scorpionic kind of vibe going on here. There is definitely that Saturn in Scorpio where the stinger is going to be there. And hopefully the venom that comes out of that stinger is going to be a stimulant to awaken people rather than to put them deeper into the coma. So yes, exciting and dynamic times. Shall we take a look at the cards?
Let's do it up.
Well, as we enter the week, we move into a very physical kind of weekend coming up here, I think. This is the Ace of Coins. And I think people are going to be feeling, that Plutonian energy throughout the weekend. We have Sun-Pluto opposition going on to initiate the weekend. People are going to be somewhat hedonistic, I would say. And also a little bit going on in that home front. So people may be making some, significant adjustments in their living environment. It's going to be a good weekend to kind of catch up on things of that sort. Then as we move out of the weekend, there's going to be a little bit of an inclination to remove yourself, to go to that place that you retreat to. So perhaps Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, Monday, I think that people are going to want to step back and pause and reflect. And at the same time, I think there will be that natural instinct to realize, oh, this is my gift for the world. So, you know, as we see here with the hermit, he's holding up the lantern, and I think that if you pay attention, you'll get other people's insights that are being presented to you in the first part of the coming week. It's going to be a week of drudgery, though. After the 4th of July break, we'll have, you know, people getting back into the work week, and it is going to be a somewhat intense work week. Again, you know, we've got that Mercury activity, and that also, as it kind of rushes out of that retrograde shadow and advances, then you're doing all the catch-up. So you may notice things in the office needing to be attended to immediately, all that sort of thing. Midweek, a little bit of a crisis, a spike in that where am I going kind of energy. You know, I know that I'm headed somewhere, but where the hell is it? So there'll be a little bit of ambiguity going on. But then as we approach the coming weekend, that's when things kind of level out. And I think by the end of this week, we'll have a clear sense of what it is that we really need to effectively initiate to make that next big step in our lives.
Well, I think that devil card goes so well with Mercury coming in, you know, out of, like you said, catching up. But, you know, the sun squaring Uranus, that courage, that strength that must be found. The devil, on the positive side, is there's definitely an intense connection to things going on. There's definitely, like, you're locked and loaded in something. It's not very floaty. You know, I always look at the devil card as like, you're definitely in something. And I've always looked at it as work, too. I think you're right. And with the Capricorn energy that kind of is getting ready for the full moon, it's everybody's trying to get something done, and we got to get it done, and you're locked into it. You can't go vacation, you know. And maybe people on vacation, this could be a week where your phone is ringing off the hook, that you can't leave the job, you know.
Yeah, it definitely is going to have that the chains of bondage, you know. And we see in most of the illustrations of the devil card, people are chained to conditions in their lives. So it is going to be a work kind of week, a work intensive week, and I think people are going to be feeling ready for the real breakaway weekend, not on the 4th of July weekend, but on the following weekend. That's when people are going to really going to get out there and do the serious party and dance by the light of the moon kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that Six of Swords at the end really goes well with that full moon in Capricorn that takes the journey. You know, Capricorn to me is one of the biggest journeys. It is the longest journey, in my opinion. I know Sagittarius is a journey, but it's the act of the journey. It's the, you know, the understanding of it. Sometimes you could go on a journey just reading a book, but Capricorn is the physical, actual destiny in this reality and the journey you take and how far it goes. It's the destination. It's the actual decision point. And I think we come to some powerful decision points, some powerful physical actual journeys beginning, really powerful, including you. You're leaving to meet me out in Sedona on the full moon in Capricorn next week.
Yes, it's going to be quite the adventure. We'll be traveling in a Dodge minivan across the heartland of America and then down into the Southland and arrive in Sedona ready to open some vortexes that people haven't even discovered yet. So I think that's going to be perhaps the outcome of my July adventure, is the two of us finding the hidden vortex and pulling the plug on it and letting it flow.
That's what we're doing. I'm excited. I think we picked the best week. I mean, that July 17th through 21st, we're going to go through a Jupiter in Leo, a Uranus retrograde, a Saturn direct. I know I'm forgetting some other things in there, but it's going to be, Mars coming out of the shadow period and passing through and getting over the North Node, everything. It's going to be just overwhelming. So much going on.
Yes, and I think the night skies are going to be especially interesting. I think we may see things in the heavens that perhaps have not been seen before, especially down in that region.
Yeah, and we're coming during meteor shower
Hmm.
season, you know. I mean, it's shooting star time. It's not the actual meteor shower is in August, but yeah, it's gonna be out of this world. And I recommend people, if you have access to the stars, the summer skyline is the best for watching the stars for those in the northern hemisphere. So you get a best view of the galactic plane, and you can really see the wonders of the universe. It's the time.
Absolutely is.
Because
So,
of the way
David,
that the Earth works, I think our view at night, when we're not looking at the sun, is at a more southern quadrant of the sky. That's the more easier access because we're peaked on one side with the sun, but when it's nighttime, we're
we're
farthest
getting
away, right?
right. We're getting the broader view,
Yeah.
or expanded view. So yeah, we do have a bigger sense of the galaxy that we are participating in.
Wonderful. Well, I will see you in about a week. Well, we'll all see you before we jump there. We got one more episode of this, and then I don't even think we figured it out yet. We are probably going to either you and I record something when we're out in Sedona together for that week in advance. That's what I think we're going to have to do that week.
I think it's going to be really exciting because
Yeah.
we'll be doing something out in the desert with all the rattlesnakes and scorpions and the other interesting inhabitants of the Southwest.
Yep. So I will see you next week, and then I'll see you even soon. And Leo says bye to you as well. I don't know if you see him, but yep.
Yes, I noticed he was kind of doing his lay on his back and stretch and project
Yeah, he's
into
ready. He's ready for
whatever other
Jupiter. He's ready for Jupiter and Leo, but he's doing the Cancer thing till it happens. So,
yeah, it's definitely a chill.
so, all right. I will see you soon.
Yes, you have a great week, David.
You too, Chris. Bye.